On August 21, 2025, the Kremlin spokesperson dropped a bit of a bombshell, admitting that things between Russia and Azerbaijan are pretty tense right now. That's honestly surprising because just a few years back, Baku was getting some serious backing from Moscow during their conflict with Armenia. But don't get it twisted, Azerbaijan isn't just leaning on Russia for defense. They've built up a military that's no joke. Some experts even argue it's the second strongest among former Soviet states. So, what's the deal with Azerbaijan's military muscle? Let's take a quick trip back in time. The first modern army in this Caucasus nation kicked off in 1918 when the Azerbaijan Democratic Republic broke free from the Russian Empire. It was short-lived though. Things got chaotic and soon enough they were folded into the Soviet Union, their forces becoming part of the Red Army. Fast forward to 1991 when the Soviet Union fell apart and Azerbaijan declared independence again. That's when their military was reborn, thanks to a law on armed forces passed on October 9th that year. Today, Azerbaijan's military is super organized, split into three main branches: the Army, the Air Force and Air Defense, and the Navy. The Army is the heavy hitter, taking care of ground operations, protecting the homeland and securing borders. The Air Force and Air Defense are like a steel dome in the sky, controlling airspace, providing fire support, and neutralizing threats from both. The Navy's the smallest of the trio, but it's got a big job, safeguarding oil and gas facilities and maintaining security on the Caspian Sea. Beyond these core branches, Azerbaijan's got paramilitary units like the National Guard, Border Guards, and Special Forces. These guys handle internal security, crowd control, counterterrorism, and beefing up border defenses. All this makes Baku's defense strategy pretty well-rounded and adaptable. When it comes to manpower, Azerbaijan's got about 128,000 active troops and over 300,000 in reserve. If things hit the fan, they could call up around 3 million men aged 18 to 49. And here's the kicker. Their oil and gas exports bring in enough cash to fund a defense budget of about $5 billion in 2025, which puts them 49th globally. Not bad for a country of just 10 million people. That money lets them keep a large force, upgrade their gear, develop new tech, train pros, and build cutting-edge military infrastructure. It's no shocker then that Azerbaijan ranks 60th worldwide on the Global Firepower Index. They're a powerhouse in the Caucasus and easily one of the strongest militaries among post-Soviet nations. Now let's zoom in on the three main branches that make up the backbone of Azerbaijan's military might. First up is the Army, the heart and soul of their forces, with somewhere between 50,000 and 80,000 active troops. It's split into five main corps, with Corps 2 and Corps 3 getting extra focus because of their key roles in territorial disputes with Armenia. Yeah, the tensions in Nagorno-Karabakh and around Yerevan have really lit a fire under Baku to modernize the ground forces. They started with that old-school Soviet setup, training, organization, the works. But they've been steadily shifting toward a more professional NATO standard model. You can see this in their training deals with countries like Turkey, Israel, Pakistan, and even the US. Back in the day, people thought their army wasn't ready for major conflicts, but the 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh campaign changed all that. They showed off some serious improvements in coordination, gear, and combat effectiveness, racking up clear wins on the battlefield. Their equipment screams ambition. They've got around 550 to 650 tanks, mostly T-72s, but they also snagged nearly 100 next-gen T-90S tanks through a $1 billion deal with Moscow in 2014. They've even kept some older T-55s around for specific tasks. Beyond tanks, they've got a beefy armored force, over 2,100 infantry fighting vehicles and armored personnel carriers in all sorts of variants. Two standouts are the Marauder and the Matador, light armored troop carriers originally from South Africa. Baku bought the rights and now builds them at home, which is huge for mobility in the Caucasus rugged mountains. Their artillery is nothing to sneeze at either, with over 1,100 systems. Towed guns, self-propelled howitzers, and rocket launchers. The Polonaise system, with a 290-kilometer range, and Israel's Extra system, give them pinpoint long-range strike power. And speaking of Israel, let's talk about the LORA missile complex they supplied. This is a high-tech tactical ballistic missile from Israel's aerospace industries, boasting a 400-kilometer range and accuracy within a few meters. It's a game-changer for Azerbaijan's army. From top to bottom, organization, training, gear.
If Azerbaijan's ground forces have you impressed, their air force in the Caucasus is no slouch either. Unlike a lot of post-Soviet countries that still lean hard on Russian gear, Azerbaijan's air force went a different route, diversifying their equipment early on. That's a clever move. It keeps them from being tied to one major power while letting them tap into the best tech from defense industries around the world. They've got about 12,000 personnel running over 180 aircraft, everything from fighters and attack planes to transports, helicopters, and cutting-edge UAVs. The Russian MiG-29 is still their go-to for air superiority. Baku's got to run 14 of these, including some trainer versions, handling strategic air defense, patrols, and quick reactions to aerial threats. But the real star of their modernization push is the JF-17 Thunder, a fourth-generation multi-role fighter built by Pakistan and China together. Word is, Azerbaijan ordered 40 JF-17 Block 2s, and they're already training pilots and taking deliveries. This jet's a beast. It can handle all sorts of missions, packs modern fire control radar, carries high-precision weapons, and has air-to-air missiles for long-range fights. Plus, it's cheap to run and easy to upgrade, making it a perfect fit for a developing military like Azerbaijan's. Going with the JF-17 also shows Baku's big-picture strategy. They're stepping away from relying on Russian tech and building tighter ties with rising defense players like China and Pakistan. Beyond fighters, their helicopter fleet is solid. You've got US-made Bell 412 utility choppers, Russian Mi-17 transports, Mi-24 attack helos, and K-27s for anti-submarine work. They also run some transport and trainer planes from Europe. But if there's one area where Azerbaijan's Air Force really shines, it's their drones. With tech support from Israel and Turkey, they've built a UAV fleet that's a force to be reckoned with, not just in the Caucasus, but beyond. Drones like the Harap, Hermes 450, Orbiter, and Bayraktar TB2 were absolute game changers in the 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, helping Azerbaijan dominate the battlefield. Their air defense is no joke either, with a multi-layered setup anchored by 2 S-300 units and 200 missiles. All in all, their air and air defense forces might not be massive, but they're versatile, strategic, and deep. Some analysts even say Azerbaijan's got one of the most battle-ready air defense systems among post-Soviet states. Now let's talk about the smallest of their three main branches, the Navy. With just about 2,200 sailors, it's modest in size, but don't sleep on its role in Baku's defense strategy. The Navy is critical for national security, protecting territorial waters and securing vital resources in the Caspian Sea, the world's largest inland sea and a major energy hub. Azerbaijan's got over 800 kilometers of coastline along the Caspian, and most of their oil and gas production happens offshore. We're talking platforms, underwater pipelines, oil boards, and energy transport routes that are basically the lifeblood of their economy. So even if the Navy's not huge, it's essential for guarding those national interests. Their main hub is the Baku Naval Base, the biggest and most modern military port in the region. While they can't compete with global naval giants, Azerbaijan's Navy has the tools to deter threats and protect their sea-based assets. Their surface fleet includes small missile corvettes armed with modern anti-ship missiles that can hit targets at mid-range, forming the backbone of their sea combat power. They've also got over 10 patrol boats to tackle smuggling and illegal crossings, which are perfect for the Caspian's unique terrain and low-intensity missions. Minesweeper vessels and logistics vessels round out the fleet, ensuring maritime safety and supporting the whole operation. A real standout is their Triton-class mini-submarines, or Projects 907 and 908. These lightweight subs are built for stealthy jobs like reconnaissance, dropping off special forces, and covert ops in coastal waters. Small, quiet, and hard to spot, they're tailor-made for the Caspian's geography, an edge few other regional navies can match, since submarines are rare in these waters. One of the Navy's top priorities is protecting oil platforms, pipelines, and tankers. As a major energy exporter, any disruption at sea could hit Azerbaijan's economy hard, so the Navy's role in the big picture is huge. Looking at the full breakdown of their branches, organization, gear, and combat capabilities, it's clear Azerbaijan's military is one of the most professional and powerful in the Caucasus. Fueled by energy revenue, Baku's been investing smartly to modernize across the board, from a battle-tested army, a versatile air force, to a lean but effective navy. But no matter how strong the military is, they've got to play it smart. Azerbaijan's got a clear edge over neighbors like Georgia and Armenia, but they need to steer clear of risky moves that could spark a direct clash with Russia, a military giant with way more tech and geopolitical pull. The recent strain between Baku and Moscow is a red flag, pointing to potential cracks in the region's security setup. In that kind of environment, a savvy foreign policy that's cautious yet firm, backed by solid military power, is the best way for Azerbaijan to hold its ground and protect its interests without getting sucked into a dangerous showdown. But simply, Azerbaijan might be the big dog in the Caucasus, but taking on the Russian bear head-on takes more than just fancy weapons. It takes sharp thinking and perfect timing. Ukraine's a fresh reminder of that, and Baku, with its impressive military, will need to tread carefully in the moves ahead.
Based on this deep dive into the organization, equipment, and combat capabilities of Azerbaijan's military branches, it's pretty obvious they've built a force that's among the strongest and most professional in the Caucasus. With the cash flow from their energy sector, Baku's been pouring serious money into modernizing every aspect of their military, from a battle-hardened army to a versatile air force and a compact but effective navy. But no matter how impressive their firepower is, it's got to be balanced with some smart decision-making. Azerbaijan's got a clear upper hand over neighbors like Georgia and Armenia, but they've got to be careful not to make bold moves that could lead to a head-on collision with Russia. We're talking about a global military heavyweight with superior scale, cutting-edge tech, and massive geopolitical influence. The recent tensions between Baku and Moscow are a warning sign, hinting at some underlying fractures in the region's security setup. In this kind of tricky environment, Azerbaijan's best bet is a foreign policy that's cautious but firm, leaning on their military strength as a solid foundation for deterrence. That's the smartest way for them to maintain their position and protect their strategic interests without getting dragged into a dangerous face-off. In other words, Azerbaijan might be the top dog in the Caucasus, but going toe-to-toe with the Russian giant isn't just about having modern weapons. It's about being sharp and knowing when to act. The situation with Ukraine is a stark reminder of what's at stake, and Baku, with its formidable military, will need to be super calculated in its next steps.